the most extraordinary figures in baseball has died today. Ralph Kiner was a player, executive, or broadcaster virtually continually from his minor league debut in 1941 through last season. He led the National League in home runs in his rookie year with the Pirates, and in the year after that, and the year after that, and wound up winning the home run crown in each of his first 7 seasons, twice hitting 50 or more. A bad back forced his retirement in 1955 at the age of just 32. He had 369 career homers in 10 years. In 1961, he became an announcer with the White Sox, and the next year he joined the expansion team in New York, the Mets. When they were bad, Kiner and his partners Lindsey Nelson and Bob Murphy were the team's best performers. It took Ralph Kiner 15 years to get into the Hall of Fame because he was once dismissed as merely a home run hitter. In the same vein, his broadcasting work was often dismissed because he said some wacky things like, if Casey Stengel were alive today, he'd be spitting in his grave. But his insight into game strategy, especially hitting, was flawless, and his humor underappreciated, as in what he said right after the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner during an ordinary 1966 Mets radio broadcast from Cincinnati.
Rendition of the national anthem by the Four Quarters, and I guess you have to believe the stories that you read about inflation because 5 fellas were singing as the Four Quarters.
How great was that? Ralph Kiner has died at his home in California, his family by his side. He was 91 years old.
Good morning, everybody. Today is Sunday, February 9th, 2014, and you are watching The Glory Day Show with Bruce and Disco. And I welcome you to our Super Bowl extravaganza. Oh, no, wait a minute. That was last week.
Welcome from the Robert Moses Causeway. Look
from
at
the
that.
Robert Moses Causeway. You know what? It's actually much colder out here than it looks. Alrighty.
It's a good set, though. It looks good.
It looks nice, yeah. Thanks to Matt Martin there. My name is Paul Descalfani. This is my good buddy Bruce Oler. And Matt Martin behind the glass over there. You are joining us on nradio.com, where we are broadcasting to the world. But we are focusing on the Robert Moses Bridge.
That's Long Island. It's what
and
that is,
is
man.
Long Island. We're trying to focus on you, Long Island. So, welcome, everybody.
Hello, Disco. How are you?
I feel much better. I know that we disappointed a lot of people last week. We had a really good show lined up last week. We had Rocky Cleaver lined up for last week. We had
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning was going to be here in studio last week. We had a 12-year-old kid that was going to talk about the Super Bowl.
And what it means to him.
Our correspondents from across the country. It was going to be. I have to say it was our best show ever.
And you missed it just like we did.
And I missed it because I was sick. You know, I sent Rocky Cleaver a text message in the morning. He called me a wussy.
Did he?
He says, it's the Super Bowl. Suck it up.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you're having breakfast this morning and I hack uncontrollably, I apologize. We're going to try and mute me if I begin to hack.
We'll have a mutiny.
A mutiny. Okay. All righty. We do have a call-in number for those of you that would like to join the show. It is 1-855-4-IN-RADIO, and we also have that little chat box, which is over Mr. B's shoulder over there. So today is a historic day.
Yes, it is.
Today is the 50th anniversary of the Beatles on
Ed Sullivan.
Tonight, it's. I actually remember that. We're going to talk about that today. Actually, why don't we tell everybody what we're going to try
sounds
and
pretty
get
good,
to
man.
today?
As you said, it's the 50th anniversary of the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. A-Rod dropped his lawsuit against the world. He's out.
He's out.
Mets announcer Ralph Kiner died.
And we saw that little thing.
Yeah. We'll talk to Tommy Gatto about the Best Supporting Actors. Timmy the Trotter will recap the Super Bowl. There's not much to recap there, really.
Oh, it was, you know what? I was so happy that I was sick for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because I kind of slept and woke up and slept and woke up, and every time I kept waking up, I was like, this game sucks.
Yeah, it was not good. We'll probably reminisce more with him about Ralph Kiner.
Absolutely.
And then we'll end with a live song by yours truly, Mr. B.
And what is that live song going to be?
It's going to be a song that was featured in the movie Country Strong. It was written by Billy Falcon and Rose Falcon. That's a father and daughter team.
Okay.
And I think it sounds pretty good, so we'll see.
Okay.
Yep.
Who's going to sing the daughter part?
What's that? Well, actually, you know, there's a bunch of versions of this song out. The one that's in the soundtrack is not the version that was on the album. It's just on the album itself. Was done by Faith Hill.
Oh, okay.
But it's done as a duet in the movie.
Okay. Because you know I can't sing the high part.
Well, I'm working on this one with my friend Kate, so hopefully get a video out of that next week, maybe or something. You know?
All righty. So, unless you lived under a rock, this is the Rolling Stone from I guess last week. Today is the 50th, unbelievable, 50th anniversary of.
Means we're all getting old. Is what that means, man. You know.
That is, you know what's strange though about it. You look at how popular the Beatles still are. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you know my kids know about the Beatles, and you know they listen to Beatle music and they understand what a historical significance it is, but also how the music still holds up today. You know, and you think about it.
Great pop songs, they really were.
But when we were kids, okay, in the 70s, in the early 70s.
Well, I wasn't a kid back in the early 70s,
well,
my
just
friend.
saying, you know, but still, you know.
Maybe in the 60s, the early 60s, I was a kid.
Even in the 60s, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
In the 60s, was there any chance that you were listening to any music from the 1910s?
No.
Okay, you know. So we're talking about listening to music, and 50 years ago, I guess on the 7th, they arrived at JFK. You know, and
that was not a third world airport, by the way.
No, it was not. Actually, Joe Biden said LaGuardia.
I know. He was very careful about that.
4,000 screaming fans were waiting for them when they showed up, and their first single, "I Want to Hold Your Hand," hit on January 17th, and it sold 750,000 copies in the first 3 days of its release.
Wow.
And their first album, which was in the U.S., which was Meet the Beatles, would reach #1.
Yeah, those were the days back then where there was an American release and a European or a British release, I guess, of those albums. You know.
And it was funny because obviously they were so popular in the UK. And Paul McCartney, when they were coming over here, he said they were on the plane, and he says, "America has everything. What are we going to give them?" You know, and we just. Obviously, everything was so much different. It was an innocent time, but in the world of rock and roll,
it was. I mean, Kennedy was shot that year, right?
Well, that just about started things. Yeah. But in the world of rock and roll, by early 1964, Buddy Holly had already died.
Yep.
Jerry Lee Lewis and Chuck Berry were they were being blacklisted.
Yeah.
You know, Elvis was in the army in the late 50s. You know, so rock and roll. Oh, and Alan Freed, remember that DJ Alan?
Sure.
He was booted off the air by the time the Beatles had gotten there. But in the UK, the Beatles were going gangbusters.
Hog wild, yeah.
You know, they had 5 singles in the top 20, and Please Please Me was #1 for 30 consecutive weeks until it got bumped by their second album with the Beatles.
Yep.
You know, which I guess became Meet the Beatles when it came over here.
On VJ, I think. VJ Records.
VJ Records. At that point in time, in a market that was 1/3 of the size of the United States, they had as many million-selling singles as the entire American recording industry had. This one group had. And what was funny was that their licensing partner, they were on EMI, and their licensing partner here was Capitol, and Capitol wanted no part of them. It's just so funny. In in '62, Dave Dexter, who was the guy in charge of international A&R for Capitol Records, and I got most of this. It's not like I did all this research.
Got it from the Rolling. I got to say, man, you're a
Stone.
walking encyclopedia here, my friend.
And it's probably better than Wikipedia. But anyway, so this guy, he listens to "Love Me Do," and he called it, and I'm going to quote this, generally amateurish and unappealing, and he classified it as a dog. They also rejected "Please Please Me" and "She Loves You."
Wow.
So George Martin, the producer, George Martin, was completely frustrated with the lack of interest from Capitol, so he went to VJ Records and Swan to release the thing. But let's talk about the Ed Sullivan for a second. Okay, so Ed Sullivan, who is the worst TV guy you would ever. Why they would give this guy a show, I have no idea.
He must have had something on somebody.
He was a newspaper guy, right? He was a newspaper guy. He was this alcoholic. They said he was this raging alcoholic, right? No personality, never smiled. He's like one of the most parodied guys ever, right? He's in the Heathrow Airport in London, and the Beatles are returning from Sweden. And all of Heathrow, London is going crazy over them. So he's like,
we got to get these guys on the show.
We got to get these guys on the show, right? So Brian Epstein, who was the Beatles promoter at the time, I guess he was their manager.
He was a manager, yeah.
He brokers a deal with them. And he's going to, he wants top billing for 3 consecutive shows, but he only takes about $10,000 for it, which was way less than... They were paid.
Well,
paid
I didn't even know what $10,000. I mean, what does that equal to today?
That's So,
but Elvis got it 5 times the amount, though. That's pretty interesting, yeah.
So as they're getting closer and they're getting ready to release this, Capitol's getting ready. They set a release date for "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and it was going to be in mid-1964. But this guy, this DJ in Washington D.C., he comes up with the greatest idea ever. He knows a flight attendant that works for one of the British Airways, right? He tells him, when you go over there, do me a favor, bring me back a record. He brings back the record, and he plays it on the air. And the switchboard lights up.
What is that?
What is that, right? And he started playing and finally, other DJs got the same idea, and they started getting a flood of these records.
Imports, yeah.
Imports. And... Capitol had to move up the release date, and they finally released it on December 26th. And there are very few things that happen that actually change the world. I mean, especially in our lifetime. I mean, the Kennedy assassination probably was one of the leading things, but it wasn't caught live on TV.
Well, I'll tell you what.
The Zapruder film came out later, but it wasn't a live television event. Nobody saw it.
Although I'll tell you what, what's his name getting shot was Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot was live TV. But and of course 9/11 was live TV there too, my friend.
To me, I mean, some of these other things like Pearl Harbor. Okay, obviously that was not on live TV. I thought about things like the Challenger. Disaster, but that didn't change the world. It was just something that happened to happen on live TV. This was actually the beginning of it, and I know you were, you're not that much older than me. Did you watch that show that night? Do you remember that?
I did. I remember my father, who was, he liked music, but man, he didn't get it at all, and I think a lot of the parents didn't get it. Really, they really didn't.
Well, my mother used to listen to AM radio all the time. And this is my earliest memory of watching television with them, of something that I remember seeing on television, was that night when the Beatles performed. And Matt, let's do it. This is the moment that changed the world as we know it.
Okay, let's watch it.
Live on TV.
And now, here he is, Ed Sullivan.
Thank you very much. Now, yesterday and today, our theater's been jammed with newspapermen and hundreds of photographers from all over the nation, and these veterans agree with me that the city never has witnessed the excitement stirred by these youngsters from Liverpool who call themselves the Beatles. Now, tonight, you're going to twice be entertained by them. Right now, and again in the second half of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. And then while I'm away, I'll ride home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. I'll pretend that I'm kissing the lips I am missing, and hope that my dreams will come true. And then while I'm away, I'll ride home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. And then while I'm away, I'll ride home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. Hey. All my loving, all my loving, all my loving, I will send to you.
Pretty cool, huh?
It was great stuff. Great stuff. You wearing their suits too, you know.
Yeah, and they had a hairstyle that nobody had ever seen before. The Ed Sullivan Show received 50,000 requests for a studio that only holds 728 people. They did those three songs. They did three songs. They did "All My Lovin'." They did Meredith Wilson's
Till There Was You. Yep.
And then She Loves You in the first set.
Yep.
They came back later in the show and they did a second set, and they did I Saw Her Standing There and I Want to Hold Your Hand. And you have the other things that they did, the other.
Yeah.
Then the next week they were in Miami. Who? Sal the Catman. Oh yeah. Did you get Betsy? Is she on the line too? You could get both of them on at the same time.
You can't.
No, I know. All right. Let's do Betsy first. Tell Sal.
Hang tight.
Tell Sal to hang tight for a minute. All righty. So on our program right now on the phone is a good friend of ours.
That's right.
She was at the Ed Sullivan Show.
Unbelievable.
Right?
Betsy.
No, I was not.
You were not there.
No.
Okay.
I was at the living room in my parents' house.
This is our good friend Betsy Lee Pitter, and she is a child of the Beatle generation, as
for sure, as
most
we
of
all
you guys
are.
that are watching the show are. And by the way, you are the first ever woman to be on this show that is talking in a non-sports related context.
That is true. I was going to say, I know that we've had females on it before. So Betsy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mr. B?
Good, thanks. Good.
And Disco?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm crying watching that
Right?
clip.
Yeah.
Doesn't it
I
make
mean,
you weepy?
The emotions from that time are so incredibly strong that even watching that black and white Ed Sullivan Show clip makes me tear up and
Right.
start getting getting all the feelings I had as a 12-year-old watching them for the first time.
And I was telling Bruce before that it's my first memory of watching television with my parents, because my mother we used to watch Ed Sullivan all the time, but that was it. I wanted to show you. I don't know if you're watching or not, but I actually have the single that this is the first ever record I bought. It's
with
got
a little piece taken out of it.
Cut out there.
It's probably a story for that one for sure.
I don't know how. Most likely, I just took it off the turntable and threw it somewhere. You know,
maybe it was your parents doing that.
Could be.
Turn that crap down.
But this is the Swan single from for She Loves You, and the flip side is I'll Get You, and this was the first record that I ever bought.
Unbelievable.
You bought, or your parents bought it for you?
Well, I'm sure my parents bought it.
Yeah, I don't think you had
no
any money then. No. How old were you? 6?
I was
something,
6.
You know?
This was 6 going on 7.
Yeah.
But what does the cover look like?
I don't have the cover. The cover's long destroyed. All I have is just the incredibly scratched black vinyl record that says Swan on it, with only one N, though. Not our good friend Mike
Not Mike Swan. So, Betsy, were you a screamer then, or what? Did you scream when you were on the air, sitting in the living room, or that was just reserved for the people that were in the live audience?
No, in the house, you know, the old black and white small screen TV in the corner in the living room, and standing in front of the TV set, screaming and tears streaming down my face. It was really a scene. I think my parents could not have been more confused, because my sister was there with me, and the two of us are screaming and crying as these 4 unusual-looking guys were on television singing, you know, a fairly melodic song, although I don't think my parents understood the woo-woos. But everything else about it looked like there were 2 aliens planted in the living room in front of the television, as far as my parents were concerned.
How much did you know about the Beatles before you saw them on the show?
Well, we had started hearing some of their music on the radio, on the AM radio, which by that time I lived with it planted on my ear. But
was that MCA or was that WABC?
I listened to MCA.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
The good guys.
Yeah, the hip station.
Yeah, there you go.
The good guys.
Cousin Brucey, right?
Well, Murray the K, you know,
Yeah.
it was good stuff. But I knew about the Beatles. I didn't know every detail of their lives. That took another 3 or 4 days until I got to. You know, this was one of the first. After the Kennedy assassination, but everybody shared that. This was one of the first shared adolescent phenomena.
Right.
Every teenager in the country basically was doing the same thing that I was doing. Not the boys. The boys weren't crying. They were pretending they were cool. But the girls were crying and screaming. And I remember going to my junior high school the next day, and there was no other conversation going on. Did you see the Beatles? Which Beatle do you like the best? Who are you going to marry?
Well, who are you going to marry?
Paul McCartney.
No, Paul he's always been the cute one. He's always been the cute one.
He marries a lot, you know?
Yep.
There's still a chance.
Yep. And of course, I think the boys were trying to look like the Beatles. There were Beatle wigs that came out. You know, but I don't know if people went to school wearing Beatle wigs.
I didn't wear a wig, but I had that Nehru shirt.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yes, I did. My mother bought me a Nehru shirt.
Oh man, that's unbelievable. But it was truly remarkable, because the amount of literature, and by literature I mean teen fan magazines, that were published within a week or two. It was almost unbelievable.
Did you ever join one of the fan clubs?
I did.
Did you still have the records?
The Christmas singles?
Christmas singles?
I was punished.
Oh no!
I was very bad, and my mother threw out a lot of things that I kept telling her she owed me.
You know,
like
Betsy, if we had a long time for the
$500,000.
show, I'd ask you what you were bad about. You know,
Well, you know, it was really like reading comic books and looking at Beatles magazines instead of homework.
Oh, okay. You know,
So,
73 million people
watch that show.
watched that show. And back then, it was the largest TV audience ever.
Yep.
And it's totally understandable. And then you did the same. What's amazing is you did the same thing the next Sunday.
Yes.
And you did it the Sunday after that.
Yeah.
And by then, that your life became the Beatles.
Absolutely. They, they wound up the amount of. Gee, I don't have it. I thought I had it.
How about they played Forest Hills, right? Did you go to that show or not?
I did not.
No.
No, I was. I was a young 12.
Yeah.
I mean, now these days, 12 years old is fairly sophisticated. In 1964, 12 years old was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You were still a kid. You didn't know everything about the adult world. So I wouldn't have really thought about getting on the bus and going to Forest Hills without
I
my
forgot you were
parents'
12 then.
permission.
I want to give you a quick Bob Dylan story that was in this Rolling Stone magazine. First of all, you talked about how everybody was talking about it afterwards, and Bob Dylan said when he first heard it on the radio, he was driving in the car, and he goes, "Did you hear that?" He goes, "F man, that was effing great."
You think he really said F, man? People
man,
didn't say F like that back then,
Yeah, he said duck.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Anyway, so after the Beatles played at Forest Hills, they met Bob Dylan for the first time, right? And Brian Epstein says to Dylan, do you want something to drink? And he wanted a specific type of wine. So he had to send somebody out to get wine for Bob Dylan, right? And they were a little nervous with each other and stuff. And of course, what does Bob Dylan do? He takes out a gigantic joint, right? And he says to the, Beatles, do you have much experience, smoking marijuana? And they were like, no, not really. And he says, Bob Dylan says to him, he says, well, then why are you singing the lyrics? I get high, I get high, I get high. And John Lennon, sheepishly says, well, the lyrics are, I can't hide. So, of course, who's the first one who they make smoke the joint?
Ringo?
Ringo, exactly. So they make Ringo smoke the joint. And Ringo's just sitting there, he's just going like this, and they're saying, well, what about it? Ringo says,
I can't hide.
He says, the ceiling's coming down on my head. So then everybody else starts joining in. And Paul McCartney says, I'm thinking in a way I never did before. And he told the Beatles road manager that he had found the meaning of life. So, until then, the Beatles were, they called them hard scotch and Coke guys, because that was their drink of choice.
I see.
But anyway. So, that's, like you said, Betsy, I know it's silly, but it was weepy. I was listening this morning to Breakfast with the Beatles this morning with Ken Dashow, and they were all talking about clips, and they were playing some of the music and stuff, and it really is it's obviously a part of our lives, And I'm looking forward to watching the
show tonight.
The show tonight, yeah.
I think Ringo and Paul did an interview with David Letterman that I say earlier tonight. Yeah.
All right. Well,
great stuff.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing.
I'm delighted to talk with you guys.
And I bet you when you hang up from this, you of course are going to watch the rest of the show.
Of course I am.
And then you're going to go out and listen to Beatle music
all day.
And then I'm going to go find all my Beatles singles.
Ooh.
And see how much they're selling for on eBay.
Sure, turn a profit on the Beatles.
Why not?
All righty, Bets. Thanks.
Okay.
Great talking to you, Betsy.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, that is a good friend of ours, Betsy.
It's always great to talk to Betsy.
And she has a unique perspective on things. All right, let's go to Sal the Catman real fast.
Salvatore.
Sal the Catman. Are you
Sal,
there?
you there?
Hello. He's watching the live show.
Turn it down there, Sal.
Sal, you know better than anybody to turn your radio down.
Is he there?
Maybe he's not
Hello.
there. Oh, there you are.
Catman.
Hey, what's up?
Sal the Catman, our fan from the Witness Protection Program, who is somewhere in the swamps of Jersey.
So,
How are
Sal,
you,
you
man?
called. I guess as soon as you started up with the Beatles, you called. So you want to talk about the Beatles, or you want to talk about something else there?
We'll talk a little Beatles, I guess. Sure.
So, do you remember watching the show live, the Ed Sullivan Show?
Not much of it. I remember, a little bit of it, but I don't remember really, maybe the first song, and it just brought memories back when you saw Ed Sullivan come out. It just
A really big shoe.
A really big shoe.
A raging alcoholic.
He really was. He was like the Ralph Kiner of guest host.
Well, after hearing about Ralph Kiner, he became my idol. Now Ralph Kiner was a real. He was. Who thought he was with Elizabeth Taylor and Janet Leigh?
I know. You know what? I can't say I knew about that.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was such a surprise.
You know, I mean, Ralph Kiner, Janet Leigh and
Yeah, good for
Elizabeth
him.
Taylor
Frank Sinatra's
doing
hanging out with
motorboats with Elizabeth Taylor. Now you know why he had such fun when he was in the TV.
He
booth.
was always smiling. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Now I know why.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, don't you have a lot of the Beatles singles?
You know what?
Can you get them
I was
from Anne
looking
Maria?
for- I don't have. Actually, Michael called me the other night. He's getting back into vinyl.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna buy a record player, and he was asking me if I have any old albums. And I found some. I found Led Zeppelin albums, and the Monkees, and Dave Clark 5. I had things like that.
Uh-huh.
Dark Side of the Moon. So.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon was a few years later. This.
Yeah.
So-
he can have them if he wants them. I'm not gonna.
But I remember our Aunt Maria, she's my aunt in name only. She's really only 3 years older than us, and she was the biggest Beatle fan I ever knew, and she had all the records and pictures and stuff, and she would never let us touch them.
Yeah, right,
Because she
right,
knew we
right.
would screw them up. We were stupid kids. We would play frisbee with them.
Now, Catman,
Right.
I always considered you to be a classy dresser and things like that, and also a trendy guy. So did you have Beatle boots or the Beatle wigs or anything, or what?
The boots I had.
There you go.
I wasn't as dapper as Disco with the shirt.
The name of the shirt. You know what? I felt like, if you watch The Big Bang Theory, I felt like Howard Wolowitz.
But you didn't have the wig then, huh?
No.
And then there was the Beatles lunchbox. There was
lunchbox.
then there's the Beatle cartoons. God, I mean, it just created an
I wish
industry
I
all
had
by
the-
itself.
I wish I had the lunchbox.
Yeah, be worth a lot of money, probably.
When I was just watching that, girls were insane.
Yeah.
It was
They were
unbelievable.
they were in a trance. It was great.
You know, they talk about the incredible amount of sex that they all had during their tours and stuff, and that they said they could have sex every night. And at some point, it was just too exhausting for them. They said it was just too
Such a
exhausting.
problem.
Could you imagine? That's why I
No.
think Lennon was the only one who was married at the time.
He was. That's
And
right.
Cynthia used to travel with him
Yeah.
because she didn't
What a
trust
bummer.
him.
I don't know how he winds up with Yoko after that, man. I don't know. Still something that perplexes me, I
Did you
guess.
see her on the Grammys?
Yeah, she's like 90 now, right? Something like that, 80.
She's got to be at least.
Yeah, she
80.
was old. She was older than him. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
she
yeah,
had
she
what,
was.
maybe Yoko Ono had what Howard Stern used to call a
Snap and gyro. There we go.
Yeah, right. But did Sean
Must
look
be.
exactly like John, or what?
I don't know.
Yep.
All righty, Catman.
Great talking to
All
you,
right.
buddy.
All right, you guys take it.
Say hi to
Take care.
everybody.
All right.
I will.
All right, that is our good pal, Sal the Catman.
All right. We're running a little bit behind here, so we're going to try to make up some time.
All right, what are we doing here? We're doing the read?
Yeah.
We're doing the Valentine's Day read, right? Okay. Valentine's Day, it's right around the corner. And Radio has got the ultimate experience for you. Win a night out with a limo from Camelot Limo. and Honu Kitchen and Cocktails in Huntington, New York, for dinner and a special show at the Paramount. Laughter is the way to the heart. Watch this video.
I'm going to read the rest of this. Okay. So click on the contest tab on radio.com for your chance to win. Winner will be announced 2/14. That's Valentine's Day, right? Be sure to check out Camelot Limo and Honu Kitchen and Cocktails and the Paramount online.
Hey, Matt, are the show hosts eligible?
That's right.
Oh, so no friends and family. But if we were to win, do we have to take our wives? Wives.
No, but we taking our lives in
That
our
would
own
be
hands if
taking
we
our
didn't.
wives,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly right.
I would assume it'd be you two going.
If we have to, we have to. You know, there's a lot of things we could do
you
in
could
that
go
limo.
Valentine's Day out on Valentine's Day, because this is Saturday the 15th. So on Valentine's Day, you go out with your wife. On Saturday, you go out with your boys.
It sounds like a plan.
All right.
All righty. So we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll talk to Tommy Gatto about the Oscar nominees. Timmy the Trotter coming up after that. Mr. B's going to do a live song, and we'll be out of here in about 4 hours.
Okay.
Be right back.
In radio.com.
Another of the nominees for Best Picture is Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street, which stars Leonardo DiCaprio as a New York stockbroker who runs a firm that engages in securities fraud.
I think a Long Island firm, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah, it could be. Okay. The movie also stars Jonah Hill and Matthew McConaughey. DiCaprio is nominated for Best Actor and Hill as Best Supporting Actor.
Okay.
But McConaughey is nominated for Best Actor, but from the film
That we
Dallas
saw a
Buyers
few
Club,
weeks ago,
which I
yeah.
saw a
Yep.
few weeks ago. The film has received a lot of positive reviews, but it's kind of controversial for its use of sex and drugs.
No rock and roll?
Which, for me, just means a better reason to go see the film. You know, like when they show that thing on the like on HBO, like before the show starts, anytime it says violent, says sex,
Yep.
I never split the channel. Alrighty, by the way, there is historical significance in this film.
Okay.
From a technology standpoint. It is the first major film to be released exclusively digitally.
Really?
Not on film at all. So, all right, so this movie received 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Director for Marty Scorsese. This is the trailer for Wolf of Wall Street, and we'll have our good pal Tommy Gatto on the phone, hopefully, when we get back.
Okay.
My name is Jordan Belfort. The year I turned 26, I made $49 million, which really pissed me off because it was 3 shy of $1 million a week.
We're making a name for ourselves.
Nobody knows if the stock is going to go up, down, sideways, or in circles. You know what a fugazi is?
Oh, Fugazi. It's fake.
Yeah, fugazi, fugazi. It's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust.
Was all this legal? Absolutely not. We were making more money than we knew what to do with.
We don't work for you, man.
You have my money taped to your boobs. Technically, you do work for me.
What's wrong, Daddy?
Oh my God.
FBI. Any kind of booze you might want?
No, the Bureau forbids us from drinking.
Duh.
So follow me, I could out the door. I'm doing 500, I'm out of control. But there's nowhere to go, and there's no way to slow. If I knew what I knew in the past, I would have been like that on your.
How does this actually work?
There's a big money sign.
They get launched at the time they stick.
This is their gift, okay? They're built to be thrown like a lawn dart.
Stop. Okay?
Safety first.
Safety is first. We don't want to get a bad reputation.
And I'm zoning, I think I'm possessed. It's an omen, I keep it 300. Like the Romans, 300. Where the Trojans, baby, be living in the moment. I've been in minutes for the longest. And you know it, and you know it, and you know it, and you know
it. Come on.
Hey,
what song was that?
I don't know. You want to know what that is, by the way? How that came about?
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey was talking about it on. I forgot. I saw him on. I listened to him on the radio, and he said that before every scene that he's ever been in a movie, he does that.
Really?
He does. He says that's the way he gets himself ready to go.
I always thought he took off his shirt before he gets into the scene.
And he said he was, doing it during this, during the filming of this movie. And I don't know if it was Scorsese or Leonardo DiCaprio says, "I want you to do that in the thing." He says that's so cool, and so that's where that came from.
I see.
All righty. Unfortunately, we can't get a hold of Tommy Gatto, and what we were going to talk about was the best supporting actors and the best supporting actress. So I guess we'll just hold on to that. And
Sounds
see
good.
If, maybe we'll
and we're
going to
make up some time, I guess, on the thing
we'll
here.
We'll make up some time. So let's see if we can get Timmy the Trotter on the phone. And let's talk for a minute about A-Rod for a second.
Yeah.
We'll go. It's 45 minutes into the show.
Yep. And we have not mentioned
just had a New York Super Bowl.
Yep.
We talked for 2 seconds about that. But let's talk a little bit about A-Rod. A-Rod finally dropped the whole thing. He dropped all his lawsuits.
Yep.
He dropped everything.
He decided he's not going to show up for spring training, which legally, contractually, he had the opportunity to do that.
Right, he could have done that.
I always wondered if he did that, what would have happened? Because he also took on like the Players Association and everybody else. I wonder if he would have just been thrown at every time he came up.
Well, that's somebody threw at him when he came back.
Yeah, the guy on the Red Sox.
Right.
Yep.
But you know what I thought of when I read this? I thought of the judge.
Yeah.
That said to probably A-Rod's lawyer, saying, "Listen, I am going to embarrass you to death.
You think
and
that?
throw
Yeah.
the whole thing out.
Yep.
Or you could just withdraw. And all of a sudden, the guy who was not going to serve one inning of a suspension because I'm innocent, I never failed a drug.
Yeah, he also never testified. You know, he
never
stopped
testified.
off and he never testified, and you know his day in court never really happened. You know what I mean?
And the judge said to the lawyers, he's going to have to testify.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure as soon as they found out that if you want to go through, which we said on this here program,
we did,
that if he does go through with these lawsuits, he's going to have to testify.
Yep.
And as soon as he found out that he would have to testify, he turned tail and ran. So he never had to testify under oath. And you know what? I think now the Yankees work with him and they negotiate some sort of a
for him to
a
right out
settlement.
into the sunset, huh?
Right. And I think, but you know what? I think he may have burned too many bridges.
He could
to have any type of a career left in baseball. He could have probably been a pretty good analyst. You know, he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
He's very well-spoken. You know, people might have been interested in his opinion, but at this point, I would give him the P word. The pariah.
Pariah, yeah, okay.
You know, I think that's what. So hopefully he. What? No,
no,
it's pariah.
Pariah. No.
No, that would be wussy.
Which is what Rocky Cleaver called you.
Rocky Cleaver called me a wussy.
Or a wuss.
A wuss.
Yeah, there you go.
All righty. Do we have Timmy on the phone?
Very good.
All righty. Timmy, are you there?
Hello, boys. How you
Hey,
doing?
great to hear from you, man.
How you guys doing?
We're
All righty.
doing good.
We're doing okay. It's been more of a Beatles show than anything else today. We were talking about the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and the 50th anniversary, and so we were saving the sports for you.
That's good.
Here we
So
go.
we wanted to talk a little bit about our pal Ralph Kiner passing away this week.
That's a shame. We lost one of our own.
We did.
That's how I feel. Anyway, I'm sure a million Met fans do.
Yeah, and he was always ours. He was, you know, a lot of the papers took a lot of time to spend time on all his mistakes and what do they call them? Malaprops, they call them. And they were there. But you know what? Guy was 90 years old in the booth.
Yeah, I tell you, he was a little painful to listen to the last couple of years, though. You know, he was slowing down quite a bit. You know,
My son James always said, "Is he drunk?"
Yeah, I know. Oh.
I said he might be, but that's the Bell's palsy that's slurring his speech.
Yep. He had a stroke and he had Bell's palsy, but the man, as far as knowledge-wise,
he knew baseball.
The stories he told.
Yep.
They were worth $1 million.
I tell you, my two favorite Ralph Kiner stories. The first one was the one where he told the story where he led the league in home runs 7 consecutive years, and he goes in and asks for a raise.
Yeah, they tell him.
And the guy says, you know, we could finish in last place without you.
Yeah, that's Branch Rickey, who used to have the Dodgers, who had Jackie Robinson, and he went over to the Pirates. And, I mean, you got to understand, he only played 10 years because he was hurt.
10 years. Do you know that the only player in baseball who has a higher ratio of home runs per at bat was Babe Ruth?
Yes, that's incredible. That's incredible. I read that. Yeah.
You know, and think about it. He did it with a last place team.
Yeah.
So he had no protection.
Yeah.
You know.
I also didn't know that that Kiner's Corner. I mean, you know, it was the name of the game after the show, the show after the game. But really, it really came down. It was where he hit all his home runs in, I guess, Forbes Field. I guess where it was. That's where they just really
Hey
called
Matt,
it.
did you? I forgot to ask you. Did you pull that audio? Check that. Check that link I sent you in the email. There's a 40-second audio clip. If when you find it, just let me know. Because we'll. I just want to play the music. Because as soon as you hear the music,
Oh, yeah, the Kiner Corner. Yeah.
That's great.
But the other Ralph Kiner story that I used to tell all when I was coaching Little League, I used to tell all my baseball kids this. And I used to do it when the fathers were, when we were all at practice just talking after the practice. And Ralph Kiner said that people used to ask him, what's the hardest sport to play? Baseball, football, basketball. And he says, baseball without a doubt. He says, and if you've ever played golf, he says, you know. He says, because in golf, you are trying to hit a round ball.
Here's the
Is that
background
it?
music. We got it. Can you hear that, Timmy?
Yeah, oh yeah. I can hear.
Brings a smile to my face, you know.
Yeah, just like yesterday.
Dun, 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 dun. But anyway, so he says you're trying to hit a round ball with a flat object, a stationary round ball with a flat object, and you're trying to hit it straight. So you've played golf, I play golf. You know how difficult it is.
I don't play golf.
So he says in baseball, they're throwing a round ball at you, and you're trying to hit it with a round bat straight. He says, and the contact point on the baseball and the bat is roughly the size of a dime. He says, and if you hit it on the top of the dime, you hit it directly in the ground. If you hit it on the bottom of the dime, you hit it directly up in the air. He says, and that's why, he says, baseball, you're a great baseball player if you fail 7 out of 10 times.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget, he actually was a pioneer before his time with Kindness Corner, because that's pretty much where it all started. After the game, you get to talk to the athletes.
Right, the post-game thing.
Yeah,
And,
that's pretty much where it started, actually.
you know who used to be a runner for him?
No.
On his show? Gary Myers, the Newsday writer, the football guy. He used to work for Channel 9. He was an intern. So when they come to the bottom of the 9th inning or the top of the 9th inning, depending on if the Mets were, he says when there was 3 outs left in the game, Ralph Kiner would say to him, go down to the locker room and get me this guy or this guy. He'd give him 2 choices. He says, and I would go down there and just say, he says, and no matter who they were, Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, he says, no matter who they were, they all nobody ever said no.
Yeah. Well, he was a big star. I mean, he could, he even had the other people come on at that time. He was a big star, and people were happy to be on the show with him.
Right.
They also get a little scratch, too. That's what Mike Gooden said. They get $100, I guess, for being on the show,
But, I mean, no one would ever deny coming to see him because he was one of their own, He was a mega star in his time, and they knew it.
And then when you talk to all the Mets talked about how it was their greatest, thrill to be asked to be on Kindness Corner.
Sure. Hey, I used to wait after every game to watch Kindness Corner. I never missed it.
Right.
Yeah, I would say the same thing,
For me, though, sometimes...
That 10-minute, 15-minute segment he used to have.
Right, but sometimes I know if I missed the game, okay, and I came in and the game was over, and I was watching Kindness Corner, you always knew if the Mets won or lost based on who he was interviewing.
Yeah, that's true.
So whenever you'd come to the thing and you'd see, he's interviewing a guy from the Montreal Expos, you go, son of a bitch, they lost.
That's great. He used to have not only the Mets, but the winning team, the other teams.
Yeah.
And in those days, you didn't have internet, and you didn't have every other aspect of seeing the players that you play. Now, in those days, you never really seen those players. So when they came on, it was a thrill for you because you never had the access to always seeing like every game you could see now in the players. You didn't have it then.
They always talk about him mispronouncing names or getting the names wrong, and they talked about he called Tim McCarver, Tim MacArthur, I guess. But he also, the Mets traded for Gary Carter, and he called him Gary Cooper. Is what he called him.
Hey, talk about Cooper like a movie. They talk about him dating Elizabeth Taylor and a bunch of other big movies.
Yeah.
He hobnobbed with. In fact, they told the story that he was introduced to Elizabeth Taylor by Bing Crosby. So he traveled to the top lines. He A-list the movie stars. He traveled with those people.
Sal called this morning and said that after he read that Ralph Kiner had dated Janet Leigh and Elizabeth Taylor, he says now he's his favorite guy of all time.
He's amazing. And they asked him. They had an interview with him, and they said about Elizabeth Taylor. What do you remember about Elizabeth Taylor? Well, the only thing I really could remember, I mean, she was beautiful, but she had fat ankles. And he said, Ralph. He goes, well, that's what I remember about it. She had fat ankles. Unbelievable.
I wonder how he got that close to her ankles.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure.
What was the circumstances?
Yeah, he traveled in the hot spots, and he was an A-lister. He not only a big baseball player, he traveled with the top-notch movie stars.
So now all 3 of them are together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they said, they're all having a wrangle together.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
or having a Rango
Oh,
beard.
we should have got
And
the
you also,
Rango
but you also
theme
got to
song.
think about Lindsey Nelson there too, you know, because
Yeah.
Lindsey Nelson with those crazy jackets that he was
Yeah.
wearing all the time. You know?
Yeah. And Bob Murphy with the.
Look at him,
You remember Bob Murphy with the ninth inning, fasten your seatbelt?
Yeah, fasten your seatbelt.
Remember that saying he used to say?
And the happy recap.
Yep.
Yeah, and happy recap and fasten your seatbelt for the ninth inning. It was like it was yesterday.
Hey, you know what? Next weekend, pitches and catches
That's
report
beautiful.
next weekend.
Yeah, the hopefully.
You know what?
It's
I'm
nice
not-
that it's staying lighter a little bit longer now. It's light after 5, but it's still cold, man.
If we could just
not
get-
like what's behind us right
If
now.
we could
you know?
just get
Tell
rid of
me how
that
cold it is.
snow.
Yeah.
I'm out there every day. It's cold.
Oh,
It is, and you know, and it's the snow that's just giving off the cold, I think, too. You know.
Yeah.
Up this way, we had a foot of snow. The last hit, we had a foot of snow.
So how does this cold weather affect the horses?
You know, as far as you know, they like the cold, but I mean, when it's free, nobody likes it when it's unbearable.
Yeah.
But they, you know, they rather have the cold than the hot. To be honest with you.
All right, let's take a quick step back. Talk about the Super Bowl from Sunday.
Yeah.
What'd you take?
There was a
from
game?
it? There was a game. Yeah. Was that the worst Super Bowl you ever saw?
Yeah, you know, everybody says that, but you know, like, and
I don't think it was the worst one. I think there were probably worse ones, but this was a bad. You know, the last few have been so competitive that this one really sticks out as being a real stinker. You know.
But you know what? The thing about it is, you know, they make the rules now for more offense, and they change the rules to make the defense, you know, it's hard for them to win, you know, do anything, and they want more scoring. But what happens at the end of the day? The best defense always still wins. So, you know, if you think about it, the Jets are doing the right thing with their defense because if you have an average offense and a great defense, you can still win.
Well, listen, that's how they got to the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row.
Yep.
With their defense, they certainly
It's
didn't get
not
there
Mark
with their
Sanchez.
offense.
Yeah, well, that's just, you know, they make, like I said, everything for offense to make more points and more scoring. But if you have a great defense, you've got a chance to win still.
What they need, all you really need, not all you need to win the league. If you have a good defense, you just need an offense that won't make mistakes. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's still proof in the pudding that you know, a great defense beat a great offense.
Yeah.
And New York really lucked out on New Jersey. I guess they always have to say it's in New Jersey, and it was in New Jersey, really. But you know, that snowstorm we had on Monday, if that would have happened on Sunday, would have been a whole different story. There, we had a
7,
beautiful
8
day
hours
on Sunday
later,
for
what a
that
day,
game
man.
too. You know.
7 or 8 hours later.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really the NFL dodged a bullet there. But you know what? I think that
God's a football fan.
Yeah, I think so too.
He was checking his boxes to see what he had.
Speaking of boxes, did you hit anything?
No, I got crushed.
Well, that safety at the beginning of the game just kind of goofed everything up too. You know,
Yeah, but
everybody
that
thought they had a
safety
good number, all of a
actually-
sudden didn't have a good number anymore. You know.
No, but you know, we had a bad day.
Of course, you know what numbers I had.
What?
I had 0 and 3.
It's good. It's a good number
I had
most times.
4 and 7.
Nice one too.
I didn't have 2.
Yeah.
Well, that, you know, if you think about it, 2 out of the last 3 years, there was a safety involved.
Yeah, exactly.
There was the 2 points right there.
Yep.
Yeah, we had in the big pool. We had one thing where if it touches the box that hit the number, you get. So we would have picked up $1,250. When Denver scored that touchdown in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, I said, "Oh, now they just kicked the extra point."
Yeah,
oh,
when they went for the 2
but they went for 2. I wanted to kill everybody.
That's a killer. That's a killer.
But they were so far behind, they went for 2. I was standing up. I was getting ready to kick the extra point, and I see them getting on the field to take a snap. I wanted to die.
All righty, Tim. So let's get a couple of things for this week for you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We're going to start on Monday at Monticello, race 6.
Okay.
Go to box 247.
Okay.
Tuesday at Monticello, race 4. We're going to box for 123.
Okay.
For our Yonkers players on Tuesday in race 2, we're going to box for 136.
Okay.
And back at Monticello on Wednesday in race number 9, we're going to box for 125.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty, man.
Yeah, and, you know, now they went to, I don't know if anybody's watching snowboarding and things like that. I guess the only time to wait for the Olympics is when the hockey starts, I think.
Yeah.
But you know.
We won 2 medals already.
Yeah, we won 2 medals. We won
It was a trick move the guy made too. I think to win in the snowboarding.
Did you watch the opening ceremonies
I did
at all?
not. It did not.
In the opening
Like I
ceremonies.
said, it's tough. It's a tough watch. I mean, yesterday they had snowboarding and women's hockey.
Women's hockey, you know what? They weren't bad, the women's hockey team. They were pretty good. They were beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, but those kind of things I got.
But at the opening ceremony, the big finish at the opening ceremony were these snowflakes that would burst open and turn into the Olympic
And they had a little
rings.
malfunction there.
But they had a malfunction, and only 4 of the 5 rings worked out.
Only over there.
But in Russia, they didn't see that.
No, well, because they had already filmed it. Is what I heard. So they kind of threw that out there instead.
They replaced the footage in Russia with the practice footage that worked.
Amazing.
Crazy stuff, man.
Just glad I'm not there.
What a beauty. I'm glad I'm back in the old USA.
All righty, Tim. We'll
All
talk
right,
to you
guys
next
be
week.
well. I'm glad you feel better this week also.
Thanks, man.
Take care,
you
buddy.
guys be well. I'll talk to you next week.
All righty, that is our good pal, Timmy the Trotter. All righty, we've got another in radio contest to talk about.
Shall I read this one?
Be my guest.
All righty. We were talking about this off the air. I mean, I can't say I know these bands. Between the Buried and Me, with guests.
And it sounds like a nice evening of classical
Well, listen
music.
to these guests here. Deaf Haven, Intronaut, and Kindred.
Now, not really trying to make fun of it or anything, but I mean, if you're into that type of metal music, you know exactly.
It must mean something to
you
somebody.
know exactly who those bands are.
So
and if
they're
you
coming-
like that music,
They're coming to the Paramount Theater in Huntington, Long Island. That's Friday, February 21st. That's a week from this Friday. And Radio has your tickets. So click on Win Now link on our homepage.
right
enter
above
to
our
win.
head here.
Also log on to ParamountNY.com for a complete listing of all the shows.
And if you've never been to the Paramount, what a great place.
I love that place.
What a great place to see
Yep.
a show. We really do. We like it. And,
And we're not just saying that.
We're not just saying that. No, we've been to the Paramount a number of times.
Yep.
And it's a great place to see a show. And, this sounds like it's going to be a great show. I know my son Kevin will be going.
There you go.
Kevin, log on with the name Jerry Schwarzman. And you can get tickets. I'll put in something for you. No, just kidding.
All righty.
We're going to take a break. We're going to set up for Mr. B's song, and then we're out of here. So be right back.
All right.
I will remember you.
if you are new to this program, the end of every show, Mr. B performs a live song for us. And today is no exception. So over in our newly decorated studio is Mr. B, and he's going to be performing today.
Given to Me by Rose and Billy Falcon.
Rose and Billy Falcon.
Had a chance to see them last week at the at a warehouse in Holbrook.
Okay.
Impromptu show, and it was great. And they played this song, and I'm happy to play it with everybody here.
Okay.
I'm gonna wear you down. I'm gonna make you see. I'm gonna get to you. You're gonna give in to me. I'm gonna set a fire. I'm gonna feel the heat. I'm gonna burn for you. You're gonna melt for me. Come on, come on into my arms. Give in to me. Give in to me. You're gonna take my hand, whisper the sweetest words, and if you're ever sad, I'll make you laugh. Your words. My heart is set on you. I don't want no one else. And if you don't want me, I'll be by myself. Come on, come on into my arms. Give in to me. Give in to me. I'll use my eyes to draw you in until I'm underneath your skin. I'll use my lips, I'll use my arms. Come on, come on, come on. Give in to me. Give in to me. Give in to me.
Nicely done.
Beautiful song, isn't it?
A tremendous song. That's very nice. Never heard that before. I don't think anybody else was listening. All righty. So that's going to do it for today. So thanks to our producer, Matt Martin, who can be seen each week right here on InRadio.com as he hosts In or Out, pun intended. And that show is on here Friday nights from 6 to 7. Thanks to our good friend Betsy Lee Pinner for helping us out with the Beatles segment today. And we got a call from Sal the Catman today. We missed Tommy Gatto today, but we did get to see the Wolf of Wall Street, which was pretty cool. And thanks again, Timmy the Trotter. So thanks to Chuck and Bonnie for putting up with this nonsense week after week. Thanks to you, our loyal fans, who tune in, so many of you. Watch the show every week. And can you believe it that pitchers and catchers are returning to, reporting to spring training next week? So maybe we'll wear Hawaiian shirts next week.
Yeah, we should. Right in front of the Robert Moses Causeway.
Right in front of the Robert Moses Causeway. So you got that to look forward to. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.